ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Geico, with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, more challenges for the Bears, this time on the offensive line as we get ready to see the L.A. Rams at Soldier Field on Sunday at noon. Welcome into Bears Etc., podcast number 97. And this episode is brought to you by Geico. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Darnell Wright has a back issue. Not saying he's out, but he's not going to practice on Wednesday. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. But now back in the shuffle mode and figuring out the best five.
Yeah, again, they're fortunate to have a guy like Matt Pryor, who I think he's got the versatility and the power to play any position. And then if you have a guy like Nate Davis that missed a little action last week, he's got to be inserted back in the lineup, and the line has to expect not to miss a beat. And so that's just part of the process of professional football, because if you look around the NFL, there's a lot of offensive linemen that are missing time right now. And you can't blame results on it. It's just a matter of that's why you have 90 guys at the start of training camp, 53 guys on a game day roster, and a practice squad of guys waiting for their opportunity.
One of the interesting names we're going to hear is Karan Amagaji, the rookie out of Yale from Hinsdale. He has not been able to get into games yet, working through that quad injury, but he's been practicing. He's been getting reps at practice, and that's a consideration right there as well. What's your thought on that?
Well, it's only the physical part I have to make my determination on, because he's been around meetings since he's got drafted here with the Bears. So mentally, he's going to be up and ready to go. It's just a matter of, can you put him in a comfort zone where he could be the most confident football player he can possibly be at this level after playing in the Ivy League. So I have a lot of faith in his athleticism, what I've seen out of him, and where his career is going. But there's nothing like getting over the first experience of playing at an NFL level.
But he also move inside at guard.
He's got the skill set, he's got the template, he's got the frame, he's got the feet that he could play anywhere on the offensive line. It's just that I think you have to go through an evaluation process with Chris Morgan and the entire offensive staff to see where do you think that he is the most confident football player, because there's other guys out there that can, if he's not 100% confident at tackle and he's got the ability to play on the inside, then who is the next man up at the tackle position? And it's just some exploratory work that you have to do. And that's the one thing about Chris Morgan, is he does it since the beginning of their evaluability, and he's got a pretty good feel on who fits the best where.
Matt Pryor played right guard last week. Big dude. He also has tackle ability. What was your overall analysis of the big guy up front?
The more reps he gets, the better he's going to be wherever he plays. He gives you a definite impact in a powerful run blocking philosophy, whether it's having a single block at the point of attack or being involved in the double team. He's got the athleticism to go up to the second level to block anybody from a defensive back to a linebacker. So the Bears are fortunate to have Matt Pryor. He's got a lot of experience, and like you said in his introduction last week, he's a mountain of a man. And so he takes up a lot of space, and I think he can really put a center if he plays offensive guard, or he can put a guard or a tight end into a powerful comfort zone no matter where he does play.
Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. We also heard, as we have every Wednesday, and we always have to play it, is Caleb Williams, the Bears quarterback. Always interesting thoughts. A guy who's always in the moment when it comes to taking the microphone, whether it be an interview and a sit down or at the podium. Lots to say about one of his favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, Matthew Stafford. Let's listen in to hear what he had to say about the Rams starting quarterback and more on the Bears offense.
It really started watching Megatron. Obviously, getting triple covered and stuff like that. And then I got a little older and kind of realized how good Matthew Stafford is at his job. And so I think that started at a young age, but it originally started watching and I guess seeing the highlights of Megatron.
And then what about Stafford's game? Do you really?
Yeah, he first I'd say he controls the game. As a quarterback, he knows how to get in and out of things efficiently. He knows where people are going to be. He knows where the defensive players are going to be, so he can move them on a string. And so, watching him be able to move defenders, be able to move and maneuver in the pocket and still deliver, some nice passes down the field, or even just getting the ball to your back and allowing him to go to work. Keeping the ball in play and, a bunch of different arm angles and, things like that. So, he's been doing it for a while. And so watching someone like that's, had the, success that he's had, you want to learn from that. So, it's going to be exciting to go against him.
Coming out of Sunday, you expressed the need for constant communication as this offense tries to find itself. What does that require from you, and what do you hope that looks like from the group at large as you guys figure this thing out early? Yeah, so it first starts with me. Being able to be a better communicator to, the coaches, the players, and things like that. About, I guess I would say a little bit more things that, I like a little bit more for certain situations, or, being a little bit more communicative and talking, to those guys that are out there. With us, what they're seeing and things like that. And then you'll get to the sideline and being able to handle things properly on the sideline and understand that, we have another drive, we have this and that when we're in practice, when we're in throughout the week and things like that, in our off time throughout the week, making sure we communicate properly to make sure that we're, running things that work well with us, myself included in that, and things that, that we may have had too many reps on, or routes or things like that over, these past 3 or 4 months of being here, that we communicate that, and just making sure we're running things that we're all comfortable with, that are obviously good plays that work well against the other team, but, more importantly, things that, we know and that we feel comfy running.
Has Shane asked you for that input, or does that have to come from you?
Yeah, so Shane and I have talked about it. We've talked about it throughout the weeks, but just been a little bit more in depth, I would say, is what we've kind of come to after this past game. Been a little bit more in depth about it. I would say is the kind of the adjustment we've made since after this last game.
Is it hard to feel comfortable doing that as a rookie?
No, I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable. He has to call the plays, and I have to go out there and execute. We have alerts and stuff like that I can change, and route concepts that I can change depending on, whatever case may be. But he does have to call them, and I also have to go out there and execute. So to be able to go out there and, make decisions in split seconds, hesitation and being, not being decisive. I think that leads into the first part about it is not being comfy. And so for certain plays or whatever case may be, or certain routes, I think that's the biggest thing. And so me being able to communicate with him is important. I understand that, and I have to do it consistently.
What encourages you most about where the offense is right now?
Yeah, I think we're constantly getting better. I think there's a lot of new, as we all know, wide receivers, running backs and quarterback, and a few offensive linemen, and all these different, parts and things like that. And, us constantly having the encouragement mindset, but also the positivity that we see on the actual film. If you actually watch it and, not get into all the emotions of the game, the positivity that we have, and the growth that we're, the slow growth that we're having. Yes, we do need to get it going a little bit, more efficiently than we are. But the growth and positivity that we have within the film that we've seen and things like that over these past couple weeks.
Matt Eberflus is a guy who likes to be involved in the offense, even though he's a defensive guy.
Yep.
What has his role been in these last week or so as you're trying to get this offense, get going? How much influence has he had, and what's his role been in trying to get this thing going?
Yeah, I mean, he's in the room. He's been in the room since training camp. New quarterback, new OC, and things like that. He's been in the room helping out as much as he could. Whether it's us asking him how he sees this, what
what works best with this. So I think he's been helpful, throughout my time here, of just being in the room because of how much knowledge he has of the defense, and defenses that he's seen. So he's been great. He's been helpful.
How big of a boost is it to get Keenan back in practice, Keenan Allen?
Yeah, it's great. To have a guy, obviously, as we know, Keenan Allen back, it's going to be, it's going to be great for our offense. It's just something else that the defense has to worry about throughout this week, and then obviously on game day. And so it's going to be great for us. His special talent of getting open and in a phone booth is going to be great for us.
What's it been like for you to process information after games, to look through game film? And I assume it's a lot more corrections than what you had on a typical day after game in college. What's it been like for you to take all of that higher volume and try to apply it?
To practice or to the next game, or which are
performance moving forward in general? I mean,
yep.
I would imagine that is that correct as far as just a basis of the question, that there's a lot more to go through than what you had after a game in college?
Give and take. We probably ran more plays in college.
As far as corrections.
Yeah, as corrections and things like that. I think both places are very detailed that I've been in here, and I guess you could say three, but I was with Lincoln for all three of those. So, both places here and being with Lincoln, I think both places are detailed, having detailed coaching and corrections after games and things like that. So, there may be, more motions and things like that. And, but other than that, I think both places are, well coached. I think both places are detail oriented. I think for me, taking the information and, the constant growth throughout the season is really important for me, one, in my career, and then two, for Chicago Bears. Just being coachable in any way possible that I can be. Want to be coached, being coached, want to details, each week. And so just have to go out there and execute, do my job, and help the Chicago Bears win games.
Who said after, or just again in terms of like how fast you're processing and what the protection can execute is a work in progress. What can you do from your perspective to get those two in sync?
Yeah, one I can keep communicating to the offensive line, and positivity, constructive criticism, things like that to them, and then how I am maybe in the pocket, how I feel about certain things in the pocket, so they just have it in mind when they're conscious. And then that's a cool thing about football, is that everything is a work in progress. We all haven't been together for 2-3 years, and so to get in a live battle with these guys and go out there and fight with them is really important for, I think, the confidence of all of us to get up after a bad play, go and celebrate with them after a good play. I think those things go a long way. And then off the field wise, hanging out with them, being with them, I think it builds a connection throughout the year, and I think it's going to keep growing.
You were pretty surprised on Sunday when we told you threw the ball 52 times.
Yep.
But as you guys try to get the running game going, do you have to kind of fight the feeling that you have to put this entire offense on your shoulders until you can run the ball effectively?
No, I don't fight any feelings of that. I'm more of a guy that, and I said this, I was talking to Shane this morning. And like I just said before, communication-wise, just talking to him this morning, it was like, if I got to throw the ball 50 times, I got to throw the ball 50 times. But if we're in a flow and we're running the ball, we're getting 4 yards of pop on the play and things like that, let's keep handing the ball off to our running backs and let them be special. So like I said, like I said on Sunday after the game, whatever it takes to win the game is what I'm going to do and what I'm happy to do. It's what I'm here to do, is win games. And so we got to get it going. Got to get the offense going. Got to get the run game going and things like that. I got to be better. Would not turn the ball over, and a lot more. So, we're going to be better. We're excited for this week to go against the LA Rams. At our hometown. I know everybody's going to be happy and rowdy to be there.
Tom, I know he loves Tom Brady. I know he loves Aaron Rodgers. He's sought out both in conversation, but he's always had a great respect for Matthew Stafford, how he controls a game, and his name has come up repeatedly, and he's not wrong. Matthew Stafford's in charge, has been since his rookie year. He's had a long career. He gets rid of the ball quickly, and he plays from that pocket. What else about Stafford's game, before we get into what else Caleb said about the Bears, sticks out to you as it pertains to this game against the Bears on Sunday?
Okay, and this is a real sticking point for me, Jeff, in this game is the intelligence of Matthew Stafford. I think it's going to be the most challenging game for the defense so far this year, man to man, scheme to scheme, level to level, because you are not going to fool Matthew Stafford at the line of scrimmage. He's going to understand exactly what he sees across the line of scrimmage from him. He's going to know how to stick with the play or make the change. He's going to take advantage of your vulnerabilities. So if he is making a determination through the course of the week of tape study that, hey, this aspect, this element of their game is not as strong as I think our offensive firepower is, and then you're going to look to be attacked. But Matthew Stafford is a guy that he's going to come into the Bears Stadium Sunday, no matter how loud the crowd is. He's going to be in control of the line of scrimmage because of experience, intelligence, and he's played there before.
And with Caleb, you can't, so much is expected, obviously. And he does not shy away from it one bit. He does not make excuses. He does not look like this is going to be too big for him. But you can't be everything right now. You just can't get everything right now. You fight for it every single rep, every single day in practice. I'm expecting at week 4 at home to feel like, okay, the start of maybe getting into a comfort zone a little bit, because you learn something new every single game, and he learned a lot in the last game, throwing 52 passes. What did you hear from him today that gives you confidence for Sunday?
Everything I'm going to do going forward is going to be for Caleb, and whatever happens, however it goes, whatever I have to do to make Caleb the most complete quarterback I can possibly make him, then that's what I'm going to do. When Caleb Williams, evaluates his performance through the eyes, the ears, the play calling of Shane Waldron, and how he feels himself and how he looks at his next opponent and his past opponent, everything I'm doing going forward the rest of the year is going to do everything to play into the improvement of Caleb Williams and how his future is going to fit into the Chicago Bears. There's a lot of strings you have to pull, and there's a lot of different ways that you're going to face opponents week to week. But, when Caleb walks away from the podium each week, I'm as impressed as I was the last week, because he knows exactly what he's saying. He knows how his improvement factors into the Bears as a football team. But now as a coaching staff, from Matt Eberflus and being in the room and helping him understand defenses better, to Caleb understanding more about NFL defenses, the more he plays them. Whatever you can do to increase the performance of Caleb, that's what I'm going to look at week in and week out.
And you know what? It's interesting. He's 22. He doesn't have the luxury of being 22, right? Like mentally, he's not 22. Kid, this is a mature adult in a very challenging position. The job is hard, as he says, to be the quarterback. The job is hard to be quarterback of the Chicago Bears in a town starving right now. And it's interesting because you wonder how often this crosses his mind, because let's be honest, man, for fans in this town, he's the hope. He's the long-term hope. And he's embraced it without hesitation, Tom. But I wonder in his private moments, does it ever cross his mind just how big this is?
I don't think it does, because every single decision he's made about his football future since he's come out of high school, he's had the most pressure on himself. And that's, when you talk about his relationship with Lincoln Riley, what he did in college, and then he transferred, and then how successful he was throughout that time. And then being in one of the most major star-studded markets in the history of high school football, college football, professional football. The LA market is incredible. And, having the chance to play against the Rams, the Raiders, and playing against USC, and looking at the stars that fill the sidelines of USC or the Raiders, it's an incredible learning experience for a guy like Caleb. And then the football is equally as important as that develops. So you have a chance to develop your personality, and then you have a chance to develop your professional side. And like I said, I am totally impressed with his podium and how he answers the questions respectfully, thinks about them before he answers them. And, he says what's on his mind and what he's thinking at that specific second.
Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. So let's dig in a little bit. Let's start with the offense. Obviously, the run game's got to get better. Keenan Allen, a hopeful return. We'll add another piece to that puzzle. But against this Rams defense, from what you've seen on tape, how does it marry up? Is there matchups to exploit? And can the Bears, whatever they cobble together on the offensive line health-wise, stop what is a very gritty and active 3-4 defense?
Jeff, the Rams had 27 total pressures against the offensive line for the 49ers and Brock Purdy. So you can't talk about who you're going to look at downfield and who is going to be your guy that you're going to try to get involved in terms of the targeting. It's about making sure that you have protection at the offensive line, whether you have to keep in a back, whether you have to add an extra tight end, whether you have to put a tight end at fullback to make sure that you can provide protection for Caleb Williams to get the ball out of his hands. If you think you're going to go out there and have a one-on-one matchup against this group, I think you're going to put pressure on Caleb too quickly, and you're not going to give him the luxury of being able to find the proper target downfield. And so with that being said, start with protection. And then we'll try to see who Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. Is it the backs out of the backfield after they have a protection responsibility awareness? So there's going to be a lot of different things that come into play. But the most important key that in this game is Caleb's going to be in charge of the cadence, and he's going to allow the offensive line and the blockers to have that nth of a second so they can start the contact against their opponent rather than having to set back on the offensive line because they can't hear the cadence. And I think that can play an important role in how successful this offensive line can be. And if you talk about the passing game, you can't ignore the running game, because the running game has to have a certain component where it opens up different portions of the passing game rather than just exclusively becoming a drop back downfield passer. You have to incorporate the screen game, the play action game, the rollouts, and the different types of protections that you can use in this type of passing game that starts with the success of a running game.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, right here at home, driving access toward healthier communities through it all. Kobe Turner is a guy that I love watching on tape. I had 9 sacks as a rookie, came out of Wake Forest, but by way of Richmond University, where he was a walk-on and then transferred over to Wake Forest. But he was a find in the 3rd round. He played nose tackle last year because, of course, Aaron Donald's going to be your 3 technique.
Right. You can't compare him to Aaron Donald because no one's going to be compared to Aaron Donald. But when you look at their template, you talk about 6'2", 297. He's got a couple solo tackles and 1 sack. But what he does is he makes sure that you have to have a blocker dedicated to him. Maybe that sets you up for a one-on-one to the outside. If you have that explosiveness in the 3 technique defensive tackle, then you have to make sure that you get that stalemated at the line of scrimmage before he gets into the backfield and then speeds up the thought process of the quarterback and makes the entire backfield dysfunctional. So Kobe has done a nice job in there, but it's kind of going to be like for the rest of their time as an organization, they could always be looking to try to replace a guy like Aaron Donald, because I don't know how many of those guys come along in a lifetime.
And then offensively, of course, we mentioned Matthew Stafford, who's backed up by Jimmy Garoppolo, who served a 2-game suspension, now back in the backup role. But their offensive line also in flux. We don't really know who's playing where. They're under their 3rd starting guard after 3 games. So up front, they got a rookie center in Bo Limmer, a guy that I liked at the Senior Bowl. He's almost 6'5", 312, strong guy. He's been a big weight room guy his whole career. And then who's healthy at receiver? Cooper Kupp is likely not going to play, but Tutu Atwell, a diminutive receiver, Tom. He's taller than I am, and he's a lot lighter at 165. I don't remember ever being 165, Tom. But he can scoot. And of course, you've got Jordan Whittington, a young man who surprised as a 6th-round pick out of Texas. And then the tight ends, Colby Parkinson is a guy that's a free agent coming over from Seattle. And then the run game, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum from Michigan. He's only had 8 attempts, but they can do a little bit of everything here. And Stafford using all his weapons because he's the guy that can figure out what works and what doesn't.
Right, because he knows everything so well. He's got this system ingrained in his system. He understands the pass protection, where it can hold up the most and where the most vulnerabilities are. They have loaded lines of scrimmage so they can outnumber you to one side and make sure his point of protection has a maximum amount of guys in front of him where the pocket can be sustained for a certain period of time. And that's the thing about it. When you talk about offensive linemen, you talk about receivers, you talk about all these other position players that have to be inserted into the lineup. The one guy that hasn't had to be inserted in the lineup is Matthew Stafford, and he understands every moving part to this offense. And if you put these guys out here, Jeff, in blank jerseys, I think that he would still be as efficient as he is if he had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and the rest of the guys that he's kind of come into the system with.
100%. You know what shocked me? Does it shock you that Matthew Stafford has only been named? Now, again, it's just the Pro Bowl. I get it. He's only been named twice.
Well, you look at all those years of service in Detroit that the team went nowhere, so he wasn't going to get the notoriety that he deserved once he came to the Rams. And my feeling about the Pro Bowl. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not the fan of the choices. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for Matthew Stafford. So whether he's been to the Pro Bowl once or never, he's got a Super Bowl ring. He's a great competitor. He's played hurt. He's played hard. He's played with some dysfunctional teams in Detroit. And, who's still standing? What is he, 36 years old? 36 years old and still standing. We didn't know if he was going to still be standing after a couple of years in Detroit. So congratulations to his conviction of being an NFL player and this successful for this long.
Yeah, well, that's fair because he was injured. I mean, he got injured. He got injured by the Bears early in his career. So, but 2014, he had an unbelievable year, and then they got 2023 Pro Bowl. So only 2 times in his career, but 4th year with the Rams, and his career interception percentage just 2.3%. So he's thrown some pick sixes, and I guess that's been a wrap on him in his career, but he's settled down. He had 20 interceptions as a rookie, and that has never been – that's it. That's the worst right there. And so you don't want anybody to throw 20 interceptions in any season. But, again, you start slow and you finish strong, and he's certainly doing that.
One quick thing, Jeff, is I find it funny that Caleb Williams' attraction to watching Matthew Stafford is because of Calvin Johnson. Yeah. And, he refers to him as Megatron, and to update a lot of the guys in the media room that weren't around back then, Calvin Johnson is one of the best receivers in the history of the league, and a quarterback watching a quarterback because of a receiver. I find it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder what a Tom Thayer, who he'd been watching to try to emulate when you were growing up.
Listen, John Hanna, when I was coming out of college, John Hanna was an offensive guard for the New England Patriots that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and they called him the best. And I imagined what it would be like to be good enough in the National Football League to be called the greatest offensive lineman of everybody and be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That will run through my head for the rest of my life.
Steinhoffels is an employee-owned furniture and mattress store. Visit any of their 4 Chicagoland locations in Vernon Hills, Crystal Lake, Downers Grove, and Harwood Heights, or shop online at steinhoffels.com. Anything on the Bears defense you'd like to see?
I'm just interested to watch him play an experienced quarterback like Matthew Stafford, because when you think of the quarterback position up until this point, even though C.J. Stroud was Rookie of the Year, they've played against inexperienced quarterbacks, whether you want to talk about Will Levis or Anthony Richardson and
3-second quarterbacks, 3-second-year quarterbacks.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But now you're talking about a 36-year-old quarterback that has played against the Bears before as a divisional opponent, understands what the best thing is for his team against a really good defense. So if the Bears' really good defense can still be really good, I think it's going to really upgrade their respectability around the league. And it's not because what receivers aren't there. It's because the intelligence of the quarterback who is there.
I don't think he's been blitzed much so far. Is that a danger?
If you feel that you can get to him before he can identify his hot receiver, I don't know if it's a danger because he doesn't have great escapability. Montez Sweat runs great. Darrell Taylor runs great. Austin Booker runs great. Javon Dexter on the inside really runs well, along with DeMarcus Walker. Billings has been a better pass rusher than we thought. Daniel Hardy, if he ever gets an opportunity to get a fresh rep in there, he's fast too around the edge. So let's see if these guys, in some of the creativeness of the blitzing of both the interior linebackers and Gordon, Kyler Gordon, if they can.
I'm just thinking he's such a quick processor, you could get burned.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If he understands, but he's processing that information before you blitz him. And once you bring a blitzer, he knows where his hot read is. If he gets to his final drop step and his arm is already in forward motion, maybe we shouldn't blitz him. Maybe we should we should play coverage, let our 4 down linemen work and see if they can expedite his process of throwing, and then we can have another body in the coverage lanes.
Busy Heart Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. We got Bears Weekly coming up on Thursday night on ESPN 1000. Make sure you join us. Jim Miller would join us for a couple segments, the former Bears quarterback from SiriusXM NFL Radio. And we hope to talk to Rome Odunze for that show as well. And then, of course, noon Sunday, the exact time of day that Tom and I appreciate the sport of football in its most glowing manner. A noon kickoff along Chicago's beautiful lakefront.
I'm jacked. I am so excited already, and I got to temper it a little bit because I guess when you go through what you did in Indianapolis, you want to get right back to those game